and welcome back to the Dolden Details channel. Right, this week I'm going to be doing an engine bay cleanup, and I believe the way I'm doing it is the safest way possible without a pressure washer. Now, lots of you use pressure washers underneath the engine bays. Lots of you in the trade out there and valeters and detailers will just turn it down or change the nozzle. It's like 60-mile-an-hour wind out there. The water's just going to blow everywhere. It's not the best idea in the world. I believe doing it with a steamer is safer. You limit the amount of water you stick underneath the engine bay, in the engine bay, Paul, and thus limiting damage to your electrics and causing all sorts of problems and fault codes and all the rest of it. Right, let's talk about the products we're going to be using. We're going to be using two bottled products this week, believe it or not. Vortex Car Care, introducing these guys. They sent down their citrus pre-wash, 200ml of that and a 1 litre trigger spray. Going to be using that as our engine degreaser and cleaner. And also, one of my favourite products of all time, CarPro Pearl as the actual dressing. 50-50 mix of that. Don't really want to use it neat because it can be a little bit sticky on plastics, thus attracting the dust. Advice this week, very, very brief advice this week. Don't put your chewing gum in the urinals. Makes it taste funny. Just don't do it. Ugh. Roll the video. So here we go then. Before we even do this, get a couple of old bags, like your mother-in-law or an elderly neighbour, and put them over the battery and the alternator. Haha, yes, very good, Paul. And we start by just getting stuck in with a Alien Magic hogtail brush. And remember, this is quite a strong mix of the citrus pre-wash, 200ml and a 1 litre trigger spray. And just do this in sections. You don't have to hit this hard with copious amounts of water. And just dry off as you go. Now you're probably looking at that soundproofing thing. Well, is he going to do that? No, I'm actually not. I'm going to leave it. I don't want to risk damaging it. You can tackle this if you so wish. You can remove it from the vehicle if you want to. It's not that bad. It's not a dirty diesel. And this is just from an all-purpose cleaner, a pre-wash. Now you can of course coat this in a wax after or a sprayable sealant to protect the paint. I'm just going to show you how to clean this today. Music being provided by Stewie this week. Once again, I'll put a link to his website underneath if you fancy some of this music from Stu Preston. And you won't get any copyrights. Yeah, get rid of that strip. I've got a strip there and it gets really gummed up, really gunky in that area. Now if you've got a pump spray, you can spray a large part of the engine bay if you so wish. I'm just going to do this in small sections and I just find it easier to see where you've been. And of course, moving the cameras at the same time, things are going to dry out. Yes, that is the NILFISK steamer. Dinky little thing. Hasn't exactly got a long pipe on it though. You have to sort of give it some extra legs by putting it on top of something like the hop up. You'd be surprised the amount of gunk that comes off just by adding steam. And also, if you are going to use a steamer, if you live in a hard water area, try and use bottled water. You're thinking, what? Bottled water? I'm not sticking Volvic in my steamer. No, don't go mad. 17p, bottle of water, it's fine. Don't go sticking like tonic in there and gin. Yes, it had been raining. Spots of water on the side of the car. Also a great place to hide from the wife. Stick the bonnet up, garage door down, stay in there for days. So once again, agitate this with the steamer. Now you do have an attachment for this steamer, so like a little brush attachment, but it's very, very heavy duty. You wouldn't want to use it on this part of the car. We're just going to agitate this. Don't forget, we've got the degreasant on there as well. Hit it with the steam at the same time. You should see some nice good results. This is where I have to have very, very small fingers. It's a shame I've got Edward sausage fingers. Getting in tight areas. Good for certain jobs though. Oh yes. Also I'm told. Also, if you are going to do this, invest in some lights, some LEDs. If you're tripod lights, get some. Hitting that again, right around the hinge area. Bit of gunk build up there. Also, you'd be surprised how much you get of a build up of wax and polish residue that just slips down the edge. There you go, there's the old bag. Switch brushes for this bit, a smaller brush just to get into those nooks and crannies. Giving out several hits. It's very, very gunky, that bit. Where your bonnet stays, or hood stay if you're in the States. This is almost as therapeutic as waxing a car. Not quite. You're probably thinking, well, why are you drying it as you go? Well, it's just purely and simply to see where you've been and to see if you've actually got rid of the gunk. Also, when you're using bottled water, you won't get any watermarks. This seems to be one of the worst parts of the engine bay, the airbox. Really dust more than anything, just a build up. Now I have seen people use foamers, and they choose to use a foaming pump sprayer. It's up to you, but obviously the more stuff you spray in that engine bay, you've got to get rid of it as well. If you've got a spray, a trigger spray, you can direct where you're roughly going to put the stuff. A little bit of corrosion there on top of the engine, that's can be expected. 77,000 miles on this Skoda now. If you were going to be doing a diesel, you'd obviously have to use stronger chemicals. You'd have a lot more oil residue. And you can go nuts on this. You can start polishing up all the bright work. And yes, I am wearing gloves. In the comment section, you always remind me to wear gloves, and I am moving the camera around a lot. But for this, definitely wear gloves. Also, there's something satisfying about doing this, about seeing a clean engine. Call me weird, all right, weirdo. I find it really satisfying. So what do we actually think about this Vortex stuff? Never used this brand before, they're new to me. Well, 200 ml of the citrus pre-wash is quite a strong mix in a 1 litre trigger spray, and it works pretty good. It breaks the grime down. But remember, we're using the steamer as well, so that's going to help. I'd like to see this used on the exterior parts of the car as a proper pre-wash. We'll have to use that in a future video, but overall, yeah, pretty impressive stuff. It leaves it nice and squeaky clean. It's not a foul odour to it at all. So several areas of this car needed a bit more attention, so I had to go back. So although I did it in stages, I went over again just to make sure I got all the bits of crud out. And you do get through several cloths, have several to hand. I managed to get through 3. If you go further in, you're going to get through more cloths. This is kind of like a never-ending job. You can really go to town on this. We're just looking for a better look. We're looking for a nice clean look. We're not going to win any shows with this, but if you just neglect it, it just ends up building up. We tend to concentrate on the exterior parts of our car more than anything, because obviously that's the bit that's on show. But if you're going to go and sell a car as well, it's nice to flick the bonnet and show you actually care about your car underneath. Now the area right in the middle where the bonnet goes down, don't go too mad on that. That's got grease in there. If you do, make sure you re-grease it. So that's going to get treated later on. And that's why you wear gloves. Not nice getting scalded by steam. And yet we go and sit in saunas. I don't know, work that one out. So the great thing about having that very, very small nozzle is you can get it into tight areas to help break down the filth. Now we start the drying stage. If you've got one of these warm air blowers, get it set on the maximum setting and go over the entire bay. This will help blow out any untoward leaves it might have got mist on the actual clean, but also really give it a thorough drying. Don't just start the engine up and just wait for the steam to come off of it. If you do this, you'll definitely know it's going to be dry. And also, if you're going to dress the car, you've got to make sure you've got dry surfaces, or the dressing just won't adhere, it just smear everywhere. Right, Pearl, CarPro Pearl. I'm going to be using this to dress the plastic parts. So a bit of a spray on the cloth first, rather than just spraying it all over the place, because of the wind, obviously. Oh yes, very, very windy day. Now you can spray this stuff everywhere, but of course you've got to take it off, or you end up with the white residue everywhere. To do this in stages once again. Not a huge amount of plastic on the engine on this particular car. Well, modern day cars have this big sort of plastic cowling rocker covers that cover up the entire engine. You can't see anything, what you just see is a sea of plastic. So it's watered down 50-50. It's not going to be too glossy, it's quite a satin look, but it just helps rejuvenate the plastic slightly. And that is it, ladies and gents. That was my quick, safe engine bay clean, or mini detail. Enjoy some rather floaty shots. Okay, we survived the high winds and the spray in the face and spray in the camera lens. And the engine bay does look a lot better. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to win any shows at the concours events. You could go mad on this and start polishing up the metal and make it look really, really spangly. This wasn't actually the idea. The idea was just to get rid of the gunk, or as much gunk as possible, and as safe as possible, using the tools like the steamer, the detail brushes, the APC, whatever you're going to use, all-purpose cleaner, TFR, whatever you're going to use underneath that. It's real basic stuff. It's quite easy, to be honest. It's quite therapeutic if you didn't have a camera just shoved in the back of your head every 5 minutes and the garage door smacking you in the bonce. Don't do it on a windy day. Product just goes everywhere. You can adjust the nozzle on your trigger spray to only to a certain degree, but it still just goes everywhere. Also take a little bit of precautions with your electrics, cover up your battery, and yes, I did clean the battery after, off camera, and also cover up your alternator. That's a real biggie, just cover up your alternator. I can tell you some stories about some alternators, especially where I live, near the sea. Yeah, the causeway. Another story. Anyway, hopefully you got something out of this video this week, and you might go and attempt this yourself. If you haven't got a blower, you can get access to a leaf blower, get a leaf blower. If you haven't got a leaf blower, get a hairdryer, but do dry your engine bay afterwards, just to be on the safe side. And whatever you're using as far as dressings are concerned, make sure you buff it off, because otherwise if you leave it all sticky, it might look glossy and great at the time in your Instagram pics, you're only going to attract the dirt again. So a little bit of advice for you. Also, thanks to Vortex Car Care for sending down all the goodies. Look forward to using that stuff. Now, you know I like to give back to you lot. There is a new YouTube channel, relatively new YouTube channel, AutoCare HQ. Big shout out to Heather. She's been a subscriber of me for quite some time now. So thanks to Heather for watching. But it's my turn to give something back to you. Go and check her out. I'll put her channel underneath this video, and make sure you subscribe to her videos. I think you're going to like these ones. Right, thanks ever so much for watching, guys. We will be back with more videos soon. Don't forget, underneath this video there are some Amazon links. Go check them out. We don't have a Patreon page. I know lots of people have mentioned getting a Patreon, but this is some way you can give back to me if you click on the links by buying some of the goodies underneath. And don't forget the merch. We still have merch. We've got hoodies now, look. And we've got key rings coming as well. So don't forget, all the links underneath this video. Check them out, and we'll see you on the next one. Tell you bye.